Today, we're going to talk about how digital marketing affects your midterm rental listing. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a founder of HomeAds, a booking site for midterm rentals. All right, so I'm going to break it up into two categories: direct booking sites and booking platforms. So back in the day, there is a ton of direct booking sites. Think of it as mom and pop, throw up your website. That's a way for people to find you. Eventually, booking platforms started to pop up, and you can kind of think of this as the larger, I wouldn't say Walmarts or anything of that sort because I don't want to have any connotations, but just a larger market of short-term rentals, midterm rentals, that sort of stuff. And what happens is that the larger platforms are able to have a marketing spend and attract a certain amount of people. And so this is called cost per click. When you think about it from an advertising standpoint, and let's say you do Facebook ads or you're doing, Google ads, whatever ads you go for, it's CPC, and that means cost per click. So every time a user goes in and they see, hey, you know what, I want to go to, this inn in Portland, and they click on their direct booking site, it will then charge whoever it is that put up that ad, so that, let's say that inn in Portland, now has to pay a certain amount, and that's your cost per click. And so prior to the larger booking sites, everyone was competing with each other, and it was spread out, diverse by whoever had better platforms, that sort of stuff, or better properties and marketing. Then came the larger companies, and that's whenever it's everyone's joint effort that really brings everyone together to one site. And these companies are typically venture-backed, have a lot of marketing spend, especially when the market is going well. And so those smaller direct booking sites have a very, very difficult time competing with the larger ones. And so that's what we saw for the last several years, is their marketing spend. I believe it gets anywhere from 50 cents to $5 per click. And when we talk about cost per click, we're not talking about your CAC, which your CAC is your customer acquisition costs. So cost per click is just the beginning of how much it takes to acquire one customer. So think of, hey, to get to your site, and then all of the website maintenance and building and getting it there, and then your Stripe integration, all of those expenses are broken down to create your CAC, which is, again, your customer acquisition cost. So that can be quite high, right? And so that's why it was actually favorable to go to the larger booking sites. Now, if you look at it and you think, okay, well, most hosts will actually diversify. You'll have your direct booking, and then you'll also have your platforms that you work with. And so most hosts will ask, well, how do I compete in this? And this kind of boils down more into, it's less of the digital marketing side. You still have to have that, but then the other part is almost more of a business development side. So if you take it as, hey, this company that I'm running as a real estate company has a certain portfolio, and I'm going to cover everything about it, everything from the digital marketing, from advertising to even the business development side. And what I mean by business development is that you can go to a lot of agencies. So for instance, you can work with talent agencies, you can work with traveling nurses that do placement of the traveling nurses. You have to go up funnel of those decision makers and say, hey, we have this many properties, we're a dedicated vendor, and establish that with all of these agencies. It does take a lot of work, but once you do establish that, they'll go directly to you. And this is typically the work, and why there are expenses to booking sites is typically they're covering everything you pay in fees typically should be covering, if they're a profitable company, those aspects. So business development, digital marketing, advertising, all of those. The most success that we've seen with hosts is that they'll diversify and go on both sides, right? So you'll have your booking direct, and that's the, hey, you know what, people are booking pretty often and we'll keep on going there. And then maybe they'll do the business development side and work with those agencies. But at the same time, they also still list on other platforms. And that's a really good way for you to diversify. Just know that as if you're doing a direct booking site, you're having to compete with every other direct booking site as well as every other booking platform. So it can be really helpful if you're very strategic in how you differentiate yourself amongst your competitors and that you'll stand out. Otherwise, it gets super crowded and it can be a very costly thing if you're unsure on how to handle the digital marketing side. I appreciate you guys watching, and if you have any comments, any additional tips for other people, feel free to comment and subscribe. I will see you next time.